Throat sweep. Any throat sweep. Gopi Janabala Laba Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janabalaba Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Yay, Mr. Gaurchandra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtaka Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Shri Prabhupada ki Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Chandra ki Shri Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Harinama Sankirtanam ki Brihat Madanga ki Gaur Premanandi. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga Goswami Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nivasesha Sunyavari Pasta Chadeshatane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter 9, text number 1. And a very long verse. I don't know how we're going to chant this one. I think we'll just, what should we do? It's too long to repeat, isn't it? I mean, we'll just go through the words. Brahmavacha Gyataha Asi Me Adya Shuchirat Nanu Dehabhajam Na Gyayate Bhagavataha Gatihi Iti Avadyam Na Anyat Tvat Asti Bhagavan Api Tat Na Shudam Maya Guna Vyatikarat Yat Uruhu Vibhasi. Brahma Uvacha. Lord Brahma said, Gyataha, known, Asi, you are, May, by me, Adya, today, Suchirat, after a long time, Nanu, but, Dehabhajam, of one who has a material body, Na, not, Jnayate, is known, Bhagavataha, of the personality of Godhead. Gatihi, course. Iti, so it is. Avadyam, great offense. Na anyat, none beyond. Tvat, you. Asti, there is. Bhagavan, O my Lord. Api, even though there is. Tat, anything that may be. Na, never. Shudam, absolute. Maya, material energy. Guna vyatikarat, because of the mixture of the modes of yat, to which. Uruhu, transcendental. Vibhasi, you are. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So this chapter is called Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. Translation. Lord Brahma said, O my Lord, Today, after many, many years of penance, I've come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are that they are unable to know your personality. My Lord, you are the only knowable object, because there is nothing supreme beyond you. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not the Absolute. You exist as the Supreme by exhibiting the creative energy of matter. Purport. The highest peak of the ignorance of the living entities who are conditioned by material bodies is that they are unaware of the supreme cause of the cosmic manifestation. Different people have different theories regarding the supreme cause, but none of them are genuine. The only supreme cause is Vishnu, and the intervening impediment is the illusory energy of the Lord. The Lord has employed his wonderful material energy in manifesting many, many wonderful distractions in the material world, and the conditioned souls, illusioned by the same energy, are thus unable to know the supreme cause. The most stalwart scientists and philosophers, therefore, cannot be accepted as wonderful. They only appear wonderful because they are instruments in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord. Under illusion, the general mass of people deny the existence of the Supreme Lord and accept the foolish products of illusory energy as supreme. One can know the supreme cause, the personality of Godhead, by the causeless mercy of the Lord, which is bestowed upon the Lord's pure devotees like Brahma, and those in his disciplic succession. By acts of penance only was Lord Brahma able to see the Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, and by realization only could he understand the Lord as he is. Brahma was extremely satisfied upon observing the magnificent beauty and opulence of the Lord, and he admitted that nothing can be comparable to him. Only by penance can one appreciate the beauty and opulence of the Lord. And when one is acquainted with that beauty and opulence, he is no longer attracted by any other. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Param Drishtva Nivartate. Foolish human beings who do not endeavor to investigate the supreme beauty and opulence of the Lord are here condemned by Brahma. It is imperative that every human being try for such knowledge, and if anyone does not do so, his life is spoiled. Anything that is beautiful and opulent in the material world is enjoyed by those living entities who are like crows. Crows always engage in picking at rejected garbage, whereas the white ducks do not mix with the crows. Rather, they take pleasure in transparent lakes with lotus flowers, surrounded by beautiful orchards. Both crows and ducks are undoubtedly birds by birth, but they are not of the same feather. The white ducks. You have white ducks here in Christchurch?
Not so many.
Pardon?
I don't think there are so many, no.
There are white ducks, are there?
Perhaps the Groins you might see some white ducks, yeah.
White ducks. Usually Prabhupada uses the example of the swan. It's the white duck. That's kind of not usually considered as common as the swan. Well, this is a beginning of a new chapter, and perhaps Many of you have been privy to the previous verses, how Lord Brahma came to understand his origin. So what would you say in this purport of today's verse, if possible, in some kind of order? What would you say stands out? What points in this purport today, verse or purport, stick out in your heart?
That there are two types of living entities here, those who like to enjoy the material energy and those who are seeing more, being more, and those are those who like to enjoy. They are compared to the crows who don't recognize the Lord, and those who see more, they are like a wild ducks.
Oh yeah, okay, good. The two types at the end there, and inferred here in the purport, there are the different types of living entities and how they relate to the material world. The white duck and the crow. And the crow is very eager to pick on, Prabhupada says it, pick on refuse, garbage, leftovers. Whereas the white duck likes to go to very nice, clean, beautiful places. Good point. Anything else?
There is nothing more absolute.
Somebody else, please. It's good, you're very attentive, but maybe somebody else also was awake. Yes.
I was just appreciating how much Lord Brahma was content and happy from seeing the Lord. It was very
Okay. Fully content. Huh? Yeah, another very important point. Huh? A lot of our problems, and problems which we envision around us, because lack of content within. What do you think? Does it make sense? And we're trying to find sometimes a scapegoat, sometimes an excuse or some kind of answer, putting it a little more positively. But we generally don't look in the right place. We tend to blame circumstances, don't we? People, circumstances. Even if we are, relatively speaking, justified in that approach, does it really solve the problem? Does it really make you content within? That you got your own back, or you came up with a philosophy which seems to make sense to conditioned soul? Does it really satisfy the inner heart? Even if you are, let's say, well-situated, fortunate in this world, and it appears you're quite happy for the time being, at least. Most people aren't, but maybe some people are more happy than others, and it makes you feel happy, depending on your nature, which is covering our consciousness. But even if you are, is that the solution? Even if you go to the heavenly planets, are they satisfied? Not sure. Not sure. What do you think? Are they satisfied in the heavenly planets? Up to a point, I guess.
semi-satisfied.
Huh?
Semi-satisfied.
Semi-satisfied. Semi. Demi or semi? Demi, semi-satisfied. Or semi-demi. You can become a semi-demi. Why?
Because it passes.
People pray to go to heaven, don't they? They're really eager to... Someone says that? No, don't be shy, you can answer again now. Someone said something, I heard a lady's voice over here.
Yeah, because you might Maharaj asked why we are semi-demi there, because it passes.
Because of?
It's temporary.
Temporary, thank you. Situation is temporary. Every situation in this world is temporary, in one sense. No matter how big we may be. And it's the illusion of the material energy is that pretty much everybody aspires to attain a position in this world. I don't know about other species of life, but more conditioned, but in the human life at least, aspiring for a higher position. Perhaps we look up to, somebody or another, and we hope to attain that. When children especially, I guess girls also, but especially boys I've seen, they have their heroes and they aspire to be, something or another, isn't it? World champion boxer or, prime minister or, brain surgeon, what is this, flying out of space, what do they call them, aeronauts, nuclear physicist, some aspiration, and thinking that that's going to satisfy me. Or maybe if I get more money. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, most people analyze their situation as a financial one, or related to a financial one. If only we had more money and less taxes, we'd be happy, right? Isn't it? It's the government. We have to change the government, then we'll be happy. Right? What else do you want to change? Change your wife, change your husband, and then I'll be happy. Some people, whatever, they go to desperate methods. They think just by ending life I'll be happy, or at least I won't be miserable. Others, maybe a little bit more pious, maybe, I don't know. They pray to go to heaven, thinking I'll be happy there. Or on this planet, if I live a pious life, I'll be happy there. Or if you're a Hindu, do some sort of pious activity or religious activity, and you get some good karma. Everyone's thinking like this. But as you say, what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? In terms of everywhere in the material world is a place of misery. Pardon? Yeah. Abhama bhuvana loka purnaya vaitanochana. That everywhere, from the highest planet in the material universe down to the lowest, everywhere is a place of suffering, repeated birth and death. Even if you're Brahma, your life might be quite long. He's like, what would you say? He's universal, responsible in that sense, for the whole universe, creator. And that doesn't mean that's the end of his job. He's always there, he's always got work to do, creation's always coming and going. Ultimately he's responsible, though other agents are there. Different demigods taking charge of various aspects of the material universe. But it goes back to him. It's like if you're a temple president, you may have all your departmental heads, but it still comes back to the temple president. He's responsible. Big post, very big post. Of course, there's a lot of perks involved, and Lord Brahma's no doubt. In this case, we're talking of a Lord Brahma who's realized. But without even beyond that, there's many perks there. Obviously, lots of higher forms of pleasure and enjoyment. And people were, one of the biggest pleasures in this material world. What would you say one of the biggest pleasures is in this material world?
Eating.
Excuse me?
Eating.
Eating. Yeah, on a general level, everyone likes to eat. Even bugs and beasts like to eat, right? You see how much they love to eat, don't they? The dogs, the animals, the birds. They love eating, don't they? I mean, we have a hard time sometimes wondering, what do they get out of that? What is that, pig getting out of eating stool? Hard to imagine, huh? Or, cow. I mean, what's a Sunday feast for a cow?
Molasses.
Huh?
Molasses.
What was that?
Molasses.
Molasses, that's a good one. That's really, that's like a festival feast, isn't it? Ordinary Sunday feast, you may not get molasses. That would be like on, Janmashtami or something. Go puja, Govardhan puja. They get their annual, these balls we give them in Vrindavan. Gur and different substances. I've eaten them. Have you tried eating those? I've eaten them myself. They're very tasty, actually. A bit hard to digest if you eat too many, because they're raw grains, but they're very tasty. And a normal Sunday feast for a cow would probably be a carrot, right? A carrot or a raw cabbage or something like that. They love it. I was at New Varshan a few days ago. 3 old cows in front of where we were staying. And oh my goodness, they go mad if you give them carrots. They like fight with each other over 1 carrot. It's like a big thing. Otherwise, their food is grass all the time. Grass, grass, and more grass in its various forms. Sounds real boring, doesn't it? I guess to them it's great. They're getting great taste at it. Different animals, even in our lifetime, a child, taste buds are so much more sensitive and extracting so much more nectar out of food, which perhaps to us isn't particularly exciting. But eating is a very big thing, and the whole universe loves to eat. We can trace that back. Is that because of the Big Bang that we all like to eat? That was another part of this purport, wasn't it? The origins of creation, and how different people probably have different ideas about this, different speculations about where we came from. Just like when you were born, I don't know how you have in New Zealand, but when you were a kiddie, did you ever ask your parents where you came from? Where did I come from, Mummy? Maybe at a certain stage they explain the physical process, but generally in the very beginning they don't even explain the physical process, which is also short of the mark. But what do they say? I'm talking of a real little kid, just basically coming to, let's say, consciousness and being able to speak and this and that. What do you tell them? Where you came from, Mummy? Where did I come from? Sometimes I ask that question. Where did I come from? A lot of kids ask that question. Indians probably have a different answer, and maybe different countries, they have a different example. We don't usually tell them even the material understanding of where we came from. Anything you remember? What do they say?
The cabbage patch.
Huh?
Cabbage patch.
Oh, that's a good one. We found you in a cabbage patch. That's an old one, that one. That's a cabbage patch. That's very English. A cabbage patch. They don't have many other things in England besides potatoes and cabbage. At least they didn't used to have. At least on the food side. What else they say?
Stork.
Huh?
Stork.
The stork. The stork is very famous when you see, even when the baby is born, there's a picture of the stork with a basket and the baby suddenly being delivered, right? Just like Father Christmas delivering something down the chimney. Which what kids think is at Christmas, where the presents come from. Father Christmas brought them down the chimney, right? At least that's what we were told. Anything else? A child doesn't have developed intelligence to really understand. I guess they believe it. I can't remember. I didn't really know what to make of it when my mother told me where I came from. I couldn't kind of disbelieve it. I just didn't. I was a little bit doubtful. What else they say? There's under a gooseberry bush is another common one. Make sure you make all that. He's making serious notes here on the class. Gooseberry bush, cabbage patch, learning where we actually come from here. This is the origins of life. Did you know it? A stork. Well, my mother said, I don't know if you've got a shop here called Woolworths. You still have in New Zealand, Woolworths?
Countdown.
Huh?
Countdown.
No, Woolworths no more there.
It's the same chain but different name.
Is that right? Countdown and Woolworths are the same chain. Okay, in Australia some shops are still called Woolworths. They were a big English store which disappeared off the face of the earth. But I guess they changed their name, really.
We used to have.
Huh?
We used to have Woolworths.
Used to have, I know we did. I remember going to Woolworths in Auckland sometimes, to shop. They said, we bought you in Woolworths. That's what my mother told me. We bought you in Woolworths, I mean, Countdown, as you call it now. Can you imagine? I mean, I guess I was a couple of years old, I don't know. So maybe a little bit older even. So the next time we went to Woolworths, I was looking, Mummy, where's the baby store? Where are the babies? And I didn't see any babies there. There were some dummies, you know. Dollies. So it's like, at a certain stage, and it's like that, you know, people who are so materialistic, all they can understand here is a material. It's material. It's like, if you look at a tree, and it's not difficult to look at trees in Christchurch, they're everywhere. Without any knowledge, can you say where it came from? How will you find out where it came from?
Someone who has knowledge.
Pardon?
From someone who has knowledge.
Correct, that's for sure. But in terms of, let's say, let's assume everyone's in the dark, how will you understand where the tree came from? What's the origin of the tree?
Like planting a seed and watching it grow yourself.
Yeah, you don't even know what a seed is at this point of time. You may go down. You see, some person will say maybe it comes from the earth, right? Simple as that. And someone else says, well, but there's a root down there. Some degree of correctness there. But it comes from a little seed. It's sometimes a very small seed. When you see the tree, the seed's not manifest, is it? I mean, it may be manifest in the branches at some point of time, but not in of itself. The seed is not manifest. You just see a tree. You can't see it. Even if you go to the root, you don't see a seed. Isn't it? I mean, we know, obviously we can go further. But in terms of direct perception, all you see is a tree. You don't see any. It's hard to imagine how it really comes about. So when you're stuck in the material world, you have no knowledge from somebody who knows beyond it, then naturally we're going to look for a cause within our scope, or potential scope. So it's not surprising that persons are completely conditioned in this world, which we all are. How can we possibly understand the origin? Not possible. The origin's beyond our capacity to perceive. So we come up with all kinds of theories to try to satisfy that quest to know what's the latest theory of the origins of the world or of life. What's the latest theory? It's a theory. Even they call it a theory, which means it's not a fact, it's just a proposal. What's the latest one? I'm not sure, I'm not updated with it. Science is a bit low-key these days, isn't it? It's gone a bit low-key in terms of 50 years ago. It was kind of like really going for it. I don't know if they still have the black holes philosophy. The black holes, is that right? There's these so-called dark holes, which I know everything's coming and going from or something. Of course, one of the famous ones Prabhupada quotes is the Big Bang theory. The Big Bang. That something, somehow or another, whatever that something is, there's no idea what that something is, suddenly blew up. Right? What caused it to blow up and what it was that blew up is another mystery. And what are those black holes? I mean, what's in the black hole? It doesn't really... It's kind of like real childish when you look at it. It's really childish. But this time they don't have any other ideas. I mean, maybe there's a few other ideas, I don't know. But and here we are, stuck on this teeny little speck of a planet, trying to look out into outer space, which, different, and of course there are different understandings of how great the universe is, but it's pretty big. It's pretty big. There's quite a lot going on out there. And we've concluded that most likely there's no life on any other planet. Most likely, because we can't see it. What can we see? What can we see? Very little. What exactly? Have you ever been to the center of the earth? Ever went on holiday in the center of the earth? No. Some idea, maybe something goes down under, but it's like your body. Take our body. Now when you cut your body, what comes out? Huh? What normally comes out? Maybe you're abnormal. But what normally comes out? What comes out when you cut your hand? Huh? Wow, that was a brilliant answer. How did you find that one? Now, don't experiment, please. Maybe one day no blood will come out. If you cut yourself too much, there'll be no blood left. But generally speaking, blood comes out. And you may conclude that's what the body's made of. It's only made of blood. But maybe there's something else inside there. You have to dig a bit deep. Don't experiment, please. But if you dig a bit deeper, you'll find something more than blood. Isn't it?
Halava.
Huh?
Halava.
Halava. Yes. If you eat enough halava, you might find halava in there too. Inside the body. Well, maybe inside the center of the earth is halava. Maybe there's a huge, vat of halava in the center of the earth, keeping the whole thing going. I don't know. But, what do we know about the earth? How far down have you gone? I don't know, not very far. Anyway, we'd hardly know our own planet, what to speak of speculate on others. But this is our nature. There's nothing unusual. A living entity wants to know. But because we don't really know, even Brahma was bewildered, right? He was bewildered about his origins. You can go on and on asking why this, why that, but basically speaking, the answer is given in the previous chapters, that to actually realize it's not just a matter of speculating with our conditioned senses. Dakshri Krishna Namadi, Bhavad Gwayam Indre, Sevan Mukhahi Jivados Svayameva Spurachita. What can we see with our senses? Imperfect, huh? And then we try to experiment, which is based also on the same premise, because we're using imperfect senses to experiment. And then we hear, as a child hears from scientists or teachers or parents or somewhere, this is this and this is that. To some degree, maybe there's some truth here and there, but limited, very limited. But the hearing process is the way that we really gain knowledge. And it's ignorance, basically ignorance. The universe was dark. Brahma was unaware of his origins or of his purpose. Pretty scary if you put yourself in that position. I can't imagine, of course Krishna kind of gives us the appropriate protection or consciousness according to the situation we're in. Even when we get sick and old, the level of conscious awareness diminishes. So it's not quite what you imagine it to be so much, although it's still very painful. But what is the real problem here? What is the real problem of ignorance? Ignorance we don't know. Prabhupada said that, here he says in the beginning of the purport, that the peak of ignorance, what did he say the peak of ignorance is? Peak, meaning culmination. What is it? The peak of ignorance. How to cook halava? Is that the peak of ignorance? If you don't know how to cook halava?
You don't eat it.
Huh?
You don't eat it.
Eat it?
If you don't honour it, then you're in ignorance.
Okay, if you don't honor it, if you don't eat it, then you're ignorant. Some living entities will say a low level, first stage of awareness is anumana. You eat everything through the mouth, you've got to taste it. But let's go a little higher than that. So what does Prabhupada say the peak of ignorance is?
I think he said the peak of ignorance is to not know the source of everything.
More or less, exactly. The peak of ignorance of the living entities who are conditioned by material bodies is that they are unaware of the supreme cause of the cosmic manifestation. The peak of ignorance. Now, ignorance is, of course, applied to so many things, but in many ways, ignorance is a cause of fear. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who it is downstairs. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what's going to happen. You just heard you've got some disease. And you don't, and we probably all had that experience to different degrees. Death is probably the most profound one. What happens, Many people are afraid of different things, that which we can't perceive or that which we don't know. We may cover it over with intoxication and various other methodology of trying to bury our heads in the sand, absorbing ourselves in material sense enjoyment. But ultimately, behind it all, the whole universe is pervaded with fear. Even in the heavenly planets, there's also fear that the demons will attack or will lose their post. Isn't it amazing how attached we are? That brings us back to the question we raised earlier on in terms of material pleasures. One of the greatest material pleasure, maybe you said eating, but we never really went any further than eating. Surely there's more than eating in the universe. What else do people really?
Being in control.
Control, this is a really big one. It's incredible. And it's not difficult to understand because it's mentioned here that Krishna is the supreme controller. And at least we understand from Shastra and from our spiritual masters that we have this propensity, we all do, it's not difficult to understand, that we as minute samples of Godhead in one sense have naturally an Ishvara Bhav, a natural tendency to control. It's only natural. If Krishna is the supreme controller, we're coming from him, so naturally we have a tendency to control. And it definitely is. And when someone interferes with our control, what happens? Isn't it? Or our eating even. You can see when someone interferes with your eating, even humans maybe a little. Sometimes I've seen devotees really get quite enthusiastic when someone interferes with their eating. I've actually seen devotees fighting with each other, punching each other, rolling on the floor, pummeling each other because one of them interfered with the other one's eating. Well, to speak of animals, they'll kill each other over this. And humans do too when they're desperate. They'll rip you apart. They'll eat you if they're desperate, some people. So, where are we going here? Control. That aspiration to be a controller, no matter what we are, how small we are, is inborn. And we've come to this, whatever atmosphere, or Krishna's placed us in this atmosphere, because we have this desire, independent desire of control. And if it's not connected with Krishna, in the case of Brahma, he's the biggest controller in the universe, practically, isn't he? I mean, aside from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he's practically the biggest controller. Can you imagine what it feels like? You can see because you just had a change of guards with your president or prime minister, whatever it is here. But generally, the executive heads are pretty attached to their posts, isn't it? Generally. Look at Mr., what's his name in America? Trump. You know, he's determined to try to get back in there. Not everyone has it in the same way, but many times they are. In Malaysia, 97-year-old Mahathir is still trying to become re-elected as the president or premier of Malaysia, 97. Many times they don't want to give up, they hold on to death only. Attached to our families, attached to our wealth, attached to just anything we can get our hands on. Is this desire to control and consequent attachment and the fear of losing it is a big thing. I mean, of course, very dangerous. See, Krishna consciousness probably more dangerous than anything else. The position of a guru or being a GBC or what to speak of a temple president. Not so much, but especially the guru. You know, it's dangerous. We were here last night from Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, yesterday morning also. You think you're the controller, you're the owner, you're the master, you're the guru. You're not a guru. You're a guru. You're as good as an animal. This idea of thinking I'm the controller, I'm the owner, I'm the proprietor, doesn't bring happiness, does it? What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? There's a very famous verse in regards to thinking oneself. Not so much thinking oneself, but the solution to this. As if you do think yourself the controller, you also become responsible for your karma. You have to suffer the reactions. As well as having no end of persons trying to get at you, and you're always afraid that they're going to get you. Because everyone wants to tear you down and take over, or get your wealth, or whatever it is. Get your wife's wife, or whatever. So what do you think? What does Krishna say in Gita? Who's that? Somebody there? Yeah? Well done. You're sharp, you're on the ball. What does Krishna say in English? Let's just start. Give him the first line.
One who knows me as I am is the person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the
enjoyer.
Beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, and a well-wisher of all, and benefactor of all living entities.
Yeah, the enjoyer of all. Bhakta means the enjoyer of all this sacrifice. Everything is meant for his pleasure. We're kind of trying to imitate that, aren't we? In this world. We want to be the enjoyer. We want to be, seen or loved by others. Me, trying to impress others. We like to be in control of what we can get our hands on. Control other people, and so on and so forth. It's inevitable because that's why we're here. There's this play where you put your children, when they want to imitate, you give them a playground where they can go ahead and do their, the kids, the girls, maybe an imitation kitchen or something, the boys some imitation cars or Lego or whatever they've got these days. Something like that. You think you're the doer. But this isn't going to bring peace. It's not going to remove fear, because sooner or later the tide comes in, the sandcastle gets washed away, and the child starts crying. Later on, death. And we're afraid. Fear is there, even in the heavenly planets, everywhere. So no one's really, you could say, really peaceful. And not only that, because people are never satisfied. No matter what they've got. Have you ever noticed that? There's oftentimes people who've got a lot are less satisfied than people who've got a little. It's an addiction. It's an addiction. They want more and more, and there's no limit. There's no limit to how much. There is a limit, but there's no limit to our desire to want more. Isn't it? A poor person may also, but it's not as profound. It's not so intense. Rich people, and there's no end. You can see it if you ever go in the news about the rich people of the world, how much they're still trying to possess and control, and they're still not happy, and they still have to die. What was that? Everyone's different, but there was one really rich guy in America, I can't remember his name, And he was so scared of death. He was the richest man in the world at one time, so scared of death. He made a whole arrangement, bacterialess, whole compartments. He thought that bacteria was the cause of death. So he had all these kind of cubicles you had to go through, and to remove any dangerous bacteria and this and that, and try to protect him from attacks. Howard Hughes, you got it. When he was interviewed, he said, "Mr. Hughes, you're the richest man in the world. How do you feel?" He said, "Miserable." He had everything. Materially, on this planet, nothing compared to the demigods. Nothing. And he was not happy. Isn't it mad? We work all our lives, we study, we work, we do everything, and you're still not happy. You're looking in the wrong place. We're in ignorance. So ignorance is the cause of suffering in that sense. Fear and suffering. The removal of ignorance automatically, one is no longer subjected to these, sources of misery. What does Krishna say about the sources of misery in the Bhagavad Gita? He says a lot of things. Think of something. Pardon? Yeah. That's a good one, isn't it? And do you remember the English?
An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. Such pleasures have a beginning and an end. So a wise person does not delight in them.
Yeah, very good. As a wise person, you think they're a fool. Material people think you're a fool, right? Why you're not? You should enjoy yourself. You're all fools. Some of you are young. You should enjoy yourself while you can. Right? Enjoy while you can. They didn't say that, don't they? Enjoy while you can. You're still young. What are you doing here? You could be sleeping right now. Sunday morning. This is nonsense. It's 8:30 on a Sunday morning. What are you doing here? You should be sleeping. What were you doing last night? Didn't you go out for a party? Well, kind of we did actually. But not the sort of party that the ordinary person is thinking of. You're wasting your life, they say. Haribol Chitra. There she is. You're wasting your life. Have you ever had that? You go on Sankirtan, many people say that. You guys are wasting your life, you're mad. You're mad. You could be enjoying yourself, young man. There you are, sat here, crazy. You're not eating any, what are you eating? Cabbages and lettuce leaves. You can enjoy yourself in McDonald's, go on. They're open 24/7, aren't they? You tell somebody, we don't drink liquor. You go to people's house, they offer you a cup of tea. Or say they start off with beer. We're teetotaler, we don't drink. Okay, cup of coffee, we don't drink coffee. Tea, we don't take tea. They offer something to eat. No, we don't eat that. We don't eat this. We don't. No, we don't eat anything unless it's offered to Krishna. You go on and on. The list goes on and on. Television, we don't watch TV. Would you like to read a novel? We don't read novels. Well, let's go out for the cinema. We don't go to cinemas. Let's go surfing. We don't surf anymore. Maybe you do, I don't know. We don't. I never did. The list is like, there's nothing left. They got this like, no. It's like filling in that form when you go into immigration and customs. No. It's all X's. God, you guys are as good as dead. There's nothing left in your life. What do you do? You can't imagine where pleasure comes from. That satisfaction, as Prabhupada says here, as he quotes that verse also in the Bhagavad Gita here about satisfaction. What does he say? About feeling higher satisfaction. Quotes it in the purple. Param drishta nivartate niraharasya Damien. Russell? You can't just restrain yourself. People thinking we're just restraining ourselves. That's one form some people may do. They may realize that material sense gratification leads to misery, therefore I'm going to control it. And I'm not going to indulge myself. So that may restrict the miserable reaction, but does it really make you happy? If people have no knowledge, no spiritual knowledge, then that's the path of death. Lord Brahma, you could say, performed tremendous penances. What does penance mean? Pardon?
Austerity.
Austerity, yeah. Performing austerities. There are different penances in different modes of nature, no doubt. Anything else? Penance?
Acceptance of voluntary suffering.
Volunteering suffering, yeah, voluntary suffering. Anything else? Well, they're all related, aren't they? Foregoing your sense enjoyment, perhaps for a higher goal, whatever it may be. You know. Different things. Lord Brahma certainly did, but his penance was, he really wanted to find out the root, the cause of everything. What is his purpose in life? And now, of course, he's realized it. Krishna's given him that realization. And to that degree, he's satisfied. He's understood the cause. And that removes the fear of darkness. So people can't understand that in the process of devotional service. It looks like you're basically speaking, you become brainwashed or you're a zombie or something. You know, you're just stupid, you're dull. They hardly can understand it. But a devotee is Param Dishvanavartadesa, should be experiencing another kind of pleasure. There's a beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita. It's in the second chapter. I guess it's about 40, I don't know what it's, 44, 45, somewhere around there. It starts with Yavan Arta Udapani Sarvatak Samplatodike. And this was a verse that I remember when I first came across Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita in 1971. When I read that verse, that was what probably convinced me more than anything else to give it a go. Give it a go there. Because, you know, everyone's looking for pleasure. Everyone's seeking for knowledge of some kind or another. Everyone's trying to avoid suffering. Nobody really likes to die. We're all kind of trying for that, because those are natural characteristics of the soul also. Not to die, to always be happy and to be in cognizance. So that verse, spoken by Krishna, all purposes are served by a small reservoir of water or pond, automatically served by the ocean or the great reservoir. Similarly, when one knows the purpose behind the Vedas, all the purposes of the Vedas are, you know, fulfilled. It clicked with me that okay, we're searching. Music was the pinpoint here. Searching for happiness in music. And certainly you'll get some relief or some kind of pleasure. But it was the pleasure. If I didn't get pleasure out of the music, I wasn't interested in it. Even someone else may get pleasure from it, but no, I'm not interested to hear it if I don't feel either relief or pleasure. So it was a relief and a pleasure that I was looking for. So it kind of was logical that if you can get that relief and pleasure from the great reservoir, why spend all of your time searching here and there and everywhere for a little bit of pleasure? And it only lasts a short time. How long can you listen? I mean, when you're kids, you know, I guess everyone's got their favorite rock band or music or whatever it is. We were into things like Quintessence and Pink Floyd and all these things. But how long can you listen to it? Can you sit there 24/7 listening to it? Or maybe you like to eat, whatever your favorite dish, but how long can you sit there eating it? You may everyone likes sex life in one form or another, but how long can you just have sex? Maybe you like to drink, but how much can you drink? You can drink a few pints or whatever. It's limited, isn't it? It's very limited. And then you've got to do something else. And there's always a reaction for it as well, of course. And you have to work hard for it. You have to work to get it. There may be problems when you get it, even as you're indulging. Then there's a reaction for indulgement, one form or another. So it's not very, we could say, not a very good investment of our time or intellect. But if you can invest your time in human form of life in something where your happiness goes deeper and deeper, doesn't end, doesn't cost anything, no material reaction, ever increasing satisfaction, isn't that a good investment? Sounds like it. Sounds like a very good. So that Paramdrishta, that higher taste, which is not available because Prabhupada says here, people are so absorbed in the external objects, always looking outward, outward. In Taoism they have a saying that the Creator has hidden happiness in a place which you'll never look. You look in the air, you look in the sea, you look in the land, you look here and there, you never find it. He's hidden it right in the core of our very conscious existence. We don't look there. Afraid. Or whatever. Blinded. Blinded by the light of the sun, we can't see the sun. If you look at the sun, you get blind. And people know this, and this is the great need of the day. Penance, well, in Kali Yuga, this austerity, this penance, which is very difficult. I mean, control of the senses is required in order to start to see things a bit clearly. But in Kali Yuga, it's very hard for people to control their senses. Very difficult. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come and made that penance, so that austerity, very, very, very sweet. The actual austerity itself, the penance itself, is very joyful. Krishna says it, Tushanti Charimanti Cha, everlasting and joyfully performed. Especially this applies but it applies only really to devotional service. And devotional service is manifest, as we heard yesterday from Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, in the form of kirtan in this age. And everyone knows how joyful kirtan is, huh? Pretty much, huh? I think if you ask even devotees, people in general, what's good about the Krishna consciousness movement? What do you enjoy about Krishna consciousness? What would you say? What do you like about Krishna consciousness movement? Anything? Nothing. Nothing at all?
Kirtan, Prasadam.
There you go. First two things that came. What was let me put my glasses on to see who that was. What is your name?
Fen.
Fen? So Fen. Fen has made an immediate answer. Kirtan and Prasadam. Anyone else? Does some of you agree with that or not? Do you feel good when you're in a kirtan? Not always. Sometimes, a little bit on a mental platform, huh? We don't like that devotee who's leading the kirtan. I don't like that tune. I don't like Jumbies, well, I can sympathize with that. And sometimes they're playing the Madanga too loud. All those whompers. We get kind of like, it's understandable. We get a little, sometimes disturbed with the way they're dancing or whatever they call it. Sometimes externals disturb us like that. But in principle, kirtan is, if we get into the kirtan, let go of all our inhibitions, some of those things have to be dealt with. But you just feel good. Maybe that's why we're doing it, maybe it's not, but you just feel good. Same thing with prasadam. I remember the last few weeks we've gone to different houses and different programs, and the prasadam has been like, wow, I don't think even kings and queens eat such food. It's just so baka, so tasty. It's prasadam. It's not that we're really getting the pleasure from either, it's because it's offered to Krishna. But even materially it's very, very attractive. Prabhupada through prasadam attracted countless living entities to come to this movement. Some of you may have been convinced by prasadam. Yasoda, were you convinced by prasadam? Were you there? Yasoda, were you convinced by prasadam? I can't see. Is that? Maybe I got looking at the wrong person. I don't know. Yes, it is you. Is it? No, it isn't. It is. Okay. Were you convinced by prasadam or not?
You don't have any choice.
What do you mean?
We don't have any choice. That's in life, isn't it? Life is prasadam.
Huh?
You got to get fit to dance, so you got to eat something. And
You were starving, were you? They didn't give you any choice. You had no money and you were starving. And all they gave you was this kind of like dal and rice and things. Leftovers from the bin. And many people were convinced that halava especially was a powerful tipper of the balance, you know. I wouldn't be so convinced nowadays by halava. But in the early days it was like, whoa. The devotees knew how to make halava like nothing else, you know. Incredible. Puris. Oh, slowly, they almost took off like saucers, flying saucers. Hot flying saucers. Mouth-watering. Icy cold, that kind of creamy, translucent sweet rice, you know. Absolutely irresistible. Huh? Incredible pushpan rice. This is the higher taste, literally the higher taste. Samosas, hot samosas with tamarind chutney. What do you think, Sachi?
Sorry?
What do you think?
Gulab jamuns.
Gulab jamuns. He's thinking of gulab jamuns, Prabhupada. His secret weapon, huh? His bullets, ISKCON bullets. Prabhupada would keep a bucket of gulab jamuns in the store there in the 2nd Avenue and Frederick Street so the devotees could dip in whenever they were feeling a bit unstable. Gulabs. Just, what is this? People are stunned by the prasadam. So kirtan and prasadam. And there'll be other things too. Maybe you're a philosopher. Maybe you love the philosophy. Maybe you're a artist. You love the pictures. Or maybe you're a seamstress or whatever call it, fashion. You love the deities and dressing the deities, decorating. A florist. You love to make beautiful floral arrangements. So many ways, musicians, kirtan and so on. Attracting our senses. We're not just withdrawing our senses, penance, no, sense enjoyment. Devotees are relishing the highest sense enjoyment, indulging our senses in the service of Krishna. We're engaging Rishikena Rishikesha. This is the way of purifying our consciousness, cleansing our heart, and experiencing that param drishvana bhaktati. Just by connecting ourselves with Krishna. All darkness goes away, ignorance goes away, fear goes away, suffering is still there but you're not affected by it, and internal happiness which is not disturbed. And we see in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there's a famous verse, and I'll finish on this, chapter 6. What's the 6th chapter called? Pardon? Dhyana Yoga. It was called Astanga Yoga at one time, or Dhyana Yoga. So the 6th chapter is, where's that verse? Famous verses. Verse or verses. Here it is. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self meaning the Supreme. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless, means unending, transcendental happiness realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Hare Krishna. Okay. Any comments? Questions?
Based on what you were saying, Maharaj, about the way we should engage our senses, and that's our form of penance, I was always like the term that the devotees were aesthetic ascetics. That was a good description.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, it's a joyful penance, isn't it? Engage our senses in dancing. People pay money to dance. Sometimes they have to get drunk to dance. Sometimes they get arrested if they dance. We also sometimes get arrested, but we don't mind. We continue dancing and chanting in the prison. Anything else? This is a process. Ambarish Maharaj is demonstrating this to us, isn't it? Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindayor Vachangsi Vakunta Gunana Vanane. Engage all of our senses in relationship with Krishna. Otherwise people are being they're not engaged in their senses, they're being engaged by their senses. Being controlled. People think they're free, but they're not. They're being controlled. There's another illusion. Maya makes us think that we're in control, but actually we're being controlled. And now we're being controlled also. Every living entity by nature is also controlled, although we want to be the controller, both of them. So we're being controlled, you could say, by our choice of following Guru Shastra Sadhu, following the direction of Bhagavatam, Guru and Shastra Sadhu. But that's a voluntary thing. You're willing to be guided, directed like that. That's our choice. That's what happened at the end of the Gita when Krishna heard the whole Gita. Arjuna heard the Gita from Krishna. Now I am free from all doubt. I'm willing to act according to your will, your direction. Yes, yes, sir.
The phenomena of prasadam is quite often experienced is that we have no choice, meaning that we're controlled by our senses, so it's a higher taste. And so if you distribute prasadam, you give it out, people say, what's in this? Yeah. They get addicted to it, don't they?
Many people do. I remember when you had your earthquake here some years ago. We were going Food for Life down in Brighton. Some of you may have been there. Maybe some of you were there. And there was some person there was, they were walking like 4 or 5 kilometers just to get the halava. Yeah. They do, they become addicted. I think even that guy from Apple, what was his name? Apple Computers, the guy who started it, what's his name? Steve Jobs, yeah. Apparently he used to walk a long way in New York across the city to get prasadam when he was a student. He had no money. Well, not just addicted or just, hungry, but some people become very, very addicted to halava or to prasadam of various kinds. What's in it? I don't know why we just brought up a remembrance of one thing Padri Narayan Maharaj said one time. Was they were at Rath Yatra in LA and they were just doing prasadam. The queue was very long and many thousands of people queuing up for prasadam after the festival. And there was a lot of school kids there, a lot of school children, a whole load of them. They were queued up and all of a sudden they would come to the front of the queue and Padri was serving them. And one of the mothers came and I went, "Don't stop! Don't eat that food!" Don't eat it. Suddenly, no. It's got something in it. He said, well, he said, why not, madam? You put something in that food. I know you have. That's why it's so good. You put something in it. She was meaning drugs, you know. Madam, no, vegetarian. No, but I can tell you must be. Why you guys are so happy if you haven't put something in it? She was going on like this, you know. Must be. He said, madam, have you ever thought about that perhaps because we don't take intoxicant, we don't eat meat, we don't have illicit sex, we don't gamble, that's why we're happy. Not because we do those things. She couldn't relate. You can't relate to it. By performing penance, you can be happy. Difficult to relate to in a sense. You perform penance to get some other thing which you think you'll be happy with. The penance itself, unless you get worshipped, is not really happiness for people in general. They don't like it. They don't like to have their senses curtailed, you know, sense enjoyment curtailed. They go crazy. But devotee, you know, we offer our senses to Krishna. We use our senses for serving Krishna and become happy. That's the penance in this age. Kirtan especially. Yes, addiction. It's not a bad addiction. Everyone's addicted. Well, to become addicted to kirtan or prasadam, it's not too, it's pretty good, huh? Pretty good addiction. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Prem Nandi. Hare Krishna.